How's it going, everybody? This is Dave Meltzer. We're going to be here for the next 2 hours talking pro wrestling with Brian Alvarez of Figure 4 Weekly, and we'll be taking all your phone calls and your emails during the next 2 hours. Gosh, that sounds so redundant. Brian, how are you today?
I'm doing good.
Good weekend?
Yeah, it was good. Pretty laid-back weekend, so that was what was good about it. I didn't have to wrestle or anything like that. Got a lot of the newsletter done. Didn't go bowling. It was good.
Yeah, I got pretty decent amount done as well. It seemed really just, I don't know, the weekend just seemed so much easier with so much less wrestling. But
yeah.
That's not but to me that wasn't really, that's not a good sign.
I even had time to watch Heat.
Did you really? I didn't watch
the first Heat ever that I've seen on MTV. And I suppose it would be ruining my credibility to say that it was the best Heat ever because it was the first one I ever saw, but this had to be the best Heat ever. Steve Regal was the host. It was great.
Uh-huh.
Wrestling was pretty subpar, but, you know, Regal did his comedy the whole show, made fun of Michael Cole. Can't ask for much more than that. And actually, I think that the Eddie Guerrero test match may have been better than the one they had at WrestleMania, which isn't saying a whole lot, but it was all right.
Well, he didn't get his ankle caught for...
He didn't get stuck in the ropes for 25 minutes while everybody in the ring panicked trying to get him out.
Yeah, today was a New Japan show at the Osaka Dome, and it was really weird. I don't... you know...
Haven't we been saying that for a while now about all these New Japan shows?
Well, I mean, they've been weird in a different way, but now that Antonio Inoki has taken over, like, more of the booking of the main events, and plus he's doing Pride, and he's trying to, like, mix and match, and then you've got Shono out there who's, you know, trying to copy American wrestling, booking his match, and you've got this, like, you know, it's like, I don't know. Basically, there's like none of the old New Japan, which is what built the company, and instead you've got one guy, you know, chasing the American style, which the fans really don't get into, and then someone else chasing the shoot style, which, you know, is okay. Like, it worked with Ogawa in the Ogawa-Hashimoto feud, but you can't have a steady diet of it because pro wrestling is not a shoot. And they did some just really weird stuff, and then, you know, TV Asahi did some really weird stuff, and we'll talk about that. I mean, you know, in reading it, and basically, I've gotten a lot of different responses to it. I think the hardcore fans pretty much hated it. I think the casual fans liked parts of it, but still hated parts too. And there was so much WCW-ish. Not that they copied WCW, but they did things that reminded me of something that only could happen in WCW. And I think the first match tells the whole story. It was Jushin Liger against Kazunari Murakami, and they had a really great angle. It was actually aired on television last Saturday night. It would have taken place a couple days before that. So they go in there, they have the ring introductions, and then they go to a commercial break right when the bell rings. And when they come back, the match is already over. The match went like 1:57, ended in a DQ. Now,
what was a DQ, by the way?
What? Liger won by DQ.
What was a DQ?
I think because he unmasked him and because Ogawa interfered.
Okay.
So they come back. Liger doesn't have a mask on. The match is already over. Ogawa's running around going crazy. Everyone's running around in the ring fighting. And they don't show a replay of it because I guess they didn't have the tape machines rolling. And I'm not even sure, you know, that's what, you know, that's basically what happened. And
that's pretty much destroyed the entire show. Was the commercials all started like when the match started? Why wouldn't you do it during ring introductions or immediately after the match when they're doing the post match or whatever? Why does it make sense to do it for the actual wrestling?
I guess they felt that the post match was more important than the wrestling matches.
How about the pre-match?
Now, I will say this on live the commercials themselves. Okay, this is the difference. Okay, the commercials themselves during the matches is not unusual for live coverage of Dome shows. I mean, in every Dome special that I remember, they would have a commercial right at the start. The difference is that those matches used to always go, you know, like 10 to 20 minutes. When the match goes 2 minutes and you have a commercial and it's over, that's why people were so much more upset because, you know, like, when you have a 6-minute match and you're losing the first 2 minutes for a commercial, you're losing a lot. When you got a 20-minute match and you lose the first 2 minutes, you know, people aren't lighting up the switchboards, which in fact they did light up the switchboards. TV Asahi complaining about this. So anyway, Ogawa, it ends up with a big brawl, and Ogawa and Tatsumi Fujinami, who was doing color, end up fighting. And then Riki Choshu's music played, and it's huge pop. Choshu comes out, him and Ogawa start fighting, everyone's fighting, they're challenging each other, which probably will lead to something on May 5th at the Fukuoka Dome. What happened then, though, is they had a match. It was Choshu and Shiro Koshinaka against Toshiaki Kawada and Masafuchi. And since there was so much heat for Choshu against Ogawa, the first ever meeting of any kind with Choshu and Kawada, I mean, I don't want to say it got no heat because it got good heat, but it just seemed so secondary that it was not a big deal. And then when Fuchi tagged in, nobody cared because nobody took him seriously, and Choshu lariated him to win in about 9 minutes. The crowd, by the way, was announced at 27,000, but I think the real number was probably closer to 20. It was definitely the smallest crowd for a New Japan Dome show in history, which is not good, although I'm not surprised because it was a weak lineup. In a surprise, Yuji Nagata beat Manabu Nakanishi. I heard they had a good match with 2 Enzugiris. Actually, an Enzugiri to the back and then a high kick to the front. So Nagata will challenge the new IWGP champion, who's Kazuyuki Fujita, as we'll get to in a second, also on May 5th at the Fukuoka Dome. Then it was a 6-man tag, which I heard was the best match on the entire show. It was Masahiro Chono returning, which also makes no sense because Masahiro Chono was put out of action due to injuries, work injuries. I mean, he'd been just banged up and needed a rest, but with Don Fry. So when he comes back for his first match back, he goes against Bat, which is whatever, Badass Translate Trading or something. Is that what it is? I know it's Badass something. So anyway, he's going against them, and Don Fry is a member of that team, but Don Fry is not in this match. So anyway, it's Chono, Tenzan, and Kojima against Muto, Taiokeya from All Japan, and Jinsei Shinzaki. And Tenzan and Kojima are an awesome tag team. I mean, they're the best tag team in the business right now as far as pure in-ring work, carrying opponents, that kind of style of work. I mean, it's like Edge and Christian are funnier outside the ring. And the Hardys do like a lot of, they'll do more spectacular moves. But, I mean, if you watch the Hardys when it comes to like selling and work and just the whole around thing, if they're not doing gimmick stuff, I mean, I'm not saying they're not good, but Tenzan and Kojima are just way more solid as far as the ability to carry people. They're really a good team. Well, anyway, the finish of that one, Chono pinned Shinzaki, but Hiroshi Hase was at ringside, and there was a lot of stuff involving him. Chono and him got into a fight. Chono attacked him at ringside. He, later gave a chair to Muto for Muto to attack Chono with. And anyway, when the match was over, Chono got the clean pin, and then Hase did a run-in and gave Uranage suplexes, which is similar but not exactly to a rock bottom. I mean, the rock bottom was basically stolen from a Uranage. It's just not quite done as well. And so anyway, he gave them to all 3 guys and then challenged Chono to a match. And I guess his last thing to Chono was, in Japanese, it was like, and what is your final answer, which is sort of a takeoff on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, whatever that thing is that they say at the end. And then Chono came back with something about like, you should be more worried about your friend, which is a reference to Prime Minister Mori, who resigned a couple of days ago, who was Hase's political ally and friend, in fact, campaigned for Hase when he was running for the Senate. And his approval rating was like 10%, which sounds just terrible because their economy's in shambles. And anyway, so that's what Chono said, which actually that got a pretty big pop when he said, you should be worried about your friend. Then the IWGP Championship match, Fujita beats Scott Norton. And I mean, it sounds like a terrible match. It probably was a terrible match. There was a lot of outside interference. I know Brian Johnston and Gary Goodridge. Were out there brawling with Team 2000 outside the ring, which is probably just as well. But Fujita beat him with a choke clean, and he got both belts. Because he came in with Inoki's old IWGP belt. So I mean, the way it was kind of like. And it was no pinfall match. So, I mean, the gimmick is that when Scott Norton gave him a power bomb, he couldn't pin him. So, because the only match could only end by it was basically Pride rules theoretically. So it could be a tap out or a knockout. So, anyway, Fujita won with a choke and the referee ended up stopping it when Norton was out. And I guess it's really weird though, Fujita is IWGP champion. I guess it's just so weird, because when Fujita left New Japan, he was like an opening match guy, and now he's like a world champion. And I guess the only good news is that Norton isn't.
Well, he got those big wins, even though they were flukes, so I guess it counts for something.
Isn't that the weirdest? That's so
I don't know
weird,
what it counts for, but it counts for something.
But he was not super over or anything like that. Because I think that, if you watch those matches, I mean, in both cases, it's not like he really beat either of those guys. It's like they beat themselves.
Yeah.
Unless he's got that whatever that is, And they actually did the same thing.
Look at Rulon Gardner. He was this big superstar. He never beat anybody.
No, he avoided getting beat.
Run that guy down, but
he avoided getting beat. You know what? It's the same thing as Rulon Gardner. If Rulon Gardner had actually done something offensive to win that match, I think, because as we both talked about, when the news came out about that match, that was huge headlines everywhere because nobody actually saw it. Okay,
yep.
And then when all of a sudden, that night when we watched the match, and all of a sudden it was oh my God! I mean, you actually felt sorry for Karelin because it was God, you win 250 matches in a row, and your streak ends like that.
Because of your grip?
Because you let go for a split second.
Yeah.
Although he was going to lose the point anyway.
When I first got an email from you, it was Karelin lost.
Didn't you email me first?
We were emailing all night long or something like that.
Yeah, because
I think you emailed me first going, he lost, and I just thought, man, this guy get pinned or, what the hell happened? And it turns out his grip slipped, and that was the end of that. So.
Yeah, 1-0.
But, that guy became a superstar off that, and, what kind of a win was it?
But he didn't really, though. He didn't really, though, if you think about it. I mean, what's Rulon Gardner now?
Yeah. I mean, for the time being. They might as well get as much out of...
It was a one-day thing, though, because once people saw it, I think that it really... if he had really beaten him decisively, I think Rulon Gardner, would have been a lot bigger superstar.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the main event was the same rules, which is Hashimoto against Kensuke Sasaki. Hashimoto did a brainbuster on Sasaki. And, the match only went 8 minutes because they were rushing to end it and, and all that. But anyway, Hashimoto did the brainbuster, and he couldn't pin him, so he just started kicking the hell out of him, and then they stopped the match. And people didn't in a pro wrestling mentality, you're expecting the big comeback, and they didn't get it, and they just were not ready for that match to end in 8 minutes. So, very cold reaction. Anyway, I'll get a tape of that. And in the preliminary matches, there's actually a common theme to the prelims. I'll go through. There was three matches that were not on TV because they did a live television special on TV Asahi. So this would be the biggest audience to watch TV, a live television show in Japan and maybe anywhere at one time, for this whole year, most likely. Because, who knows? Who knows? Because there were so many people complaining about the commercials. Maybe the rating wasn't that good. Last year the rating was they did 15.7 rating last year. But anyway, it was Takashi Iizuka beat Minoru Tanaka, who was the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, getting beat by a mid-card heavyweight. And then Yutaka Yoshie, who was a totally uncharismatic, fat heavyweight, beat Shinya Makabe, who was a up-and-coming great junior heavyweight. And then Brian Johnston, who is he has a great look and no ability. And I don't want to say no ability, that's not fair. Just very green heavyweight, beat Kendo Kashin, who's a pretty darn good working junior heavyweight, whose career is doomed.
And how
beat
long?
him in 2 minutes and 20 seconds with a front guillotine choke.
That guy's dead.
Yeah, well, he's going to be even deader because he's supposed to fight Ryan Gracie at the next show. Well, they're trying to get Johnston. They're trying to get Johnston over to fight in Vale Tudo. They got him from UFC. Brian Johnston is a phenomenally talented fighter. He's just not a what's the word I'm looking for?
Phenomenally talented wrestler.
No, he's got a great look. He's not a phenomenally talented pro wrestler. No, but I'm talking about as a fighter, he's got great skills, but he doesn't have a great heart. In that, I don't think he really likes getting beat up, and I guess maybe no one does. But if you've ever watched his matches, he, once he's taken down and he's on his back, he just never gets up from it. But when he's beating people up, he's quite ferocious. And he's he's 6'4", probably 235, 240. He can wrestle pretty good. He's got very good judo training. He can kickbox pretty darn good. He's got the skills and the look and all that, but, if he goes against a wrestler and the wrestler takes him down, it's just at that point he's kind of okay, let's get out of this fight. You know what I mean? It's not that was, if you ever watched his UFC fights, every one of them is as soon as he got taken down, he never got up. And the only one he lasted any time with once he was taken down was Shamrock. And Shamrock just pounded the hell out of him. And I think the whole gimmick on that one was that, what was the name of it? That was a really weird Ultimate. And, 3 guys, I think, in the same tournament, maybe 4. No, there's Mark Hall, Don Fry, Gary Goodridge, and Johnston were all managed by the same guy, and I think was it Robert DiPersia?
They were working each other.
Yeah, well, so Robert DiPersia. This was by the last time that he was ever around a UFC. So he's managing like half of the people in the Ultimate, as it turns out. And so I think that the idea was Ken Shamrock was probably the best fighter in that Ultimate. Certainly he was the favorite going in, and Johnston was his first round opponent.
Wasn't that the fight where he beat up Johnston and broke his hand and couldn't go on?
Yes, that was the fight. So anyway, the basic gist was that Johnston's role was, actually Johnston, I know that Shamrock felt that the toughest guy in the whole tournament for him was going to be Johnston, and he actually manipulated it so he would get Johnston in the first round when he was fresh, figuring that the other guys would be easier and it's okay if he was tired. He wanted the toughest guy first, so he respected Johnston. So anyway, he took Johnston down and just, pounded the hell out of him and broke his hand in the process. Or actually it wasn't broken, but it was almost broken. He damaged it greatly and couldn't come out. And the idea was Johnston's role was that he couldn't tap because they had to wear Ken down so Don Fry or whomever, Don Fry ended up winning the whole tournament, Don Fry would have a weakened Ken, so it was like his job was to not tap early. And I mean, I was like right there at ringside, right, like just a few feet away from this corner where Shamrock's got Brian in the corner, and he's just pounding him, and Brian is just sitting there wanting to tap, knowing that like he can't, and he's just like going like under his breath, he's just swearing, going like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So finally after being pounded on for about 5 minutes, I think it was, he did tap. And it was when Ken started switching hands, and I go, oh my God, he switched hands. He probably broke his hand on the guy's head, hit him so many times. And basically that's what happened.
Sure enough.
And Don Fry won the tournament because Tank Abbott slipped. So anyway, that's the story of that. Let's see. Santo beat Psicosis in their hair versus mask match Friday in Tijuana, which I have not watched the tape of, although I got the tape in the machine right now, so I'm going to watch it as soon as the show's over. And I heard that was a phenomenal match, and they had a huge crowd. And Puerto Rico had, with Kane and Terry Funk down there, and Miguel Perez joined the Boricuas. They had a really big weekend. IWA was just doing very well. On Raw tonight, we don't know any matches, but let's see what's going on with Raw. Jim Ross will be announcing the show tonight. I don't know what they wrote on the preview, like will Jim Ross announce or not, but I think he's going to be announcing. God, I'm trying to think. Is there any Pep Boys pulled out of advertising on SmackDown. Citing that they didn't like what they saw. That was a PTC deal. Any other stuff I'm missing from the weekend? No, I mean no WWF shows the whole weekend. What?
Yeah, it's quiet around here.
Yeah, everything was foreign. There was nothing domestic at all. No WWF shows. ECW declared bankruptcy on Friday, officially. Although that was pretty much expected. There's something here. Where was it? Oh, let me get to this. This is a poll question for the weekend on WrestleMania. What was the greatest match in the history of WrestleMania? Savage Steamboat ended up winning it with 26% of the vote. Bret Hart and Owen Hart had 20%. Michaels and Razor Ramon ladder match had 21%. Bret Hart and Steve Austin from 1997 WrestleMania, that was the I Quit match, had 25%. It actually lost by 2 votes to Savage and Steamboat. And then Rock and Steve Austin from this year got 7%. So pretty much everyone was figuring one of those other 4 matches was the best one. Today's question is it possible to run a profitable, that's a very important word, a profitable national pro wrestling company against the WWF today? A, no. B, yes, but only by copying the WWF style. C, yes, but only by coming up with your own new style. Or D, yes, by doing old style but having good booking and good logic. So that's...
Or E, if Vince Russo and Dave McClain hook up.
Yeah, right.
Did you read that?
What? No, I did not.
Oh, his newest website, Delia Bob, is, whatever the hell he called it. He was talking about a meeting with Dave McClain when he was in California, and things may be happening there, he says. You need something new, and WOW is that new product.
Well, WOW did lose $3 million in a quarter, which is more than ECW lost all of last year, and oh my God. I don't even know what to say when you brought that up. It's just like,
I emailed you the whole thing so you can check it out.
Oh, this is so wonderful. I have something to look forward to. Like,
Hey, are the Yankees in California? What's the big team in California?
Brian, oh my God. Don't ever talk about sports. No, okay, what sport are we talking about? Give me a sport.
Baseball.
Russo's favorite sport.
Oh, San Francisco Giants.
That's what he's talking about. He goes, I went to California to watch the Giants play. Why, you ask? Because he was such a tremendously loyal person. He puts that in all capital letters. And while he was there, he had the big meeting with Dave McClain.
Great.
And he broke the news that WOW will be restarting operations in September.
Oh yes, they're going to try to get funding for another season.
How is that season? Yes.
Okay, now how is that going to be any different than this first season?
Well, Russo will be there.
So?
He's talking about how, look at how great the ratings are with the women and blah, blah, blah. And it's a great...
Okay. You know what?
They didn't. I know. At the end, they didn't.
Okay.
I think he only gave one example in the whole thing, and I didn't go back to check it out, but I think his example was the night that they did the bikini contest at Club La Vela, where Tori Wilson won. I think he said that Nitro, that 6-minute segment beat the return of Steve Austin. And it may well have.
No, it didn't.
I didn't go back to check.
Oh, God.
Did it not?
God. What?
When was that? It was like 98?
Club La Vela had been the spring break of 99, right?
I think it might have been the 98.
No, it was the spring break of 2000. I think it was spring break of 2000 when they did the bikini.
No. It was farther back than that.
Spring break of 99?
Yeah.
Okay, that was the one where it would have been right after Sable left. So okay. Well.
Yeah, where Nash came out and Sable eat your heart out. Sable
eat your heart out, right. But even if it did, so what? That's 2 years ago. What does that matter now? And I don't think it did anyway. But it's like, so what? WCW, up through 98, WCW regularly beat out WWF, numbers for different quarter hours. No big deal.
I just like the whole 6-minute segment part. He made it very specific that 6 minutes.
But he doesn't even know.
The return of Steve Austin.
He doesn't even know that. He's just, every time you look back and like he'll say something like that and then you look it up, like, like we did this segment and it beat out like what Flair and Hogan did, and you look it up and it's like, it's not even, there was no Flair and Hogan, and it was like, you know what I mean? And then when you look up when Flair and Hogan last wrestled, it was like a 4.4, and he's talking about it not being able to do doing a 1.9, and it's like, Look,
and for all you Vince Russo fans out there that listen to this show, he will be doing a chat on that website following Raw next week. But unfortunately, you have to send in your questions early so they can screen them for the proper response from Vince Russo.
Okay, great. All right, anyway, let's get out of this. I know this isn't going to happen, but somebody has got to get Antonio Inoki and Riki Choshu out of power. They were slowly sending New Japan Pro Wrestling to the same level as WCW. God, I was thinking that just this morning as I was reading over the TV show. Somebody has got to break the news to them that this pseudo shoot style wrestling stuff they were trying to push isn't working. So the problem is, it's not so much that you can't do the shoot style in one match and the WWF style in the other match. You've got to have your own. You can do the shoot style. I mean, like the shoot style with Ogawa and Hashimoto was a big success, but you can't have a whole promotion of it because you just can't. And the other thing is that you can't have it while you have a WWF style match somewhere else. And the New Japan got very successful doing a certain style, and they're like abandoning it, and that's what's not doing very well. I mean, they just killed that.
At least they cut the commercial and it cut to a backstage segment with Hogan cutting a promo.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Used to do anyway,
they're destroying their respected cruiserweight division. They sure are, and they have them jobbed to undercard heavyweights as both counterproductive and downright insulting. It's probably not so much that they're. It's like, I think if they if the cruiserweights against the heavyweights and the cruiserweights lost 70% of the time and won 30% of the time, I think it would work. But when it's like 95% of the time, it's bad. I would just love to get inside the heads of Inoki and Choshu and figure out what the hell they're thinking. Choshu's real tough. I don't know what's in his head. I actually think I do understand what Inoki's thinking. Actually, Brian, you kind of wrote something, and it was kind of clicked in my head, and I started thinking like I was still in the 70s watching wrestling, and I totally understood where Inoki's going. Unfortunately, nobody else does. There's actually I actually wrote this in the Observer. There's a long explanation. I totally understand what Inoki's doing. I don't agree with it, but I actually do. I mean, the whole thing is that Inoki's trying to get himself over as the greatest shoot fighter of all time, and in his prime, and he's backdating stories to the 70s by bringing up his old belts, and he's going to put his old belts on guys like Fujita and Mark Coleman, who were super shooters, and therefore, since they're super shooters, then him, who originated those belts, was also a super shooter, aside from being the best pro wrestler, because he thinks that pro wrestling, everyone kind of knows is a work, but he's trying to preserve his legacy. So anyway, that's the Reader's Digest version of that. And speaking of great things, after New Japan Wrestling and WCW and WOW with Vince Russo, we're now going to talk about the XFL, which, by the way, did set its all-time record low rating for NBC on Saturday night, and I do not have the rating for Sunday yet because Nielsen's slow, which actually the rating wasn't done by even 4 o'clock. So anyway, this is from Hector Ruiz, who goes, I just thought of a scenario to explain why Vince is talking about having a second season. I want to know what you think the likelihood for this is. Could it be that Vince is going to go to UPN and TNN and say he wants to do a second season? So when they say, no, please, Vince can say, okay, let's make a deal, and tells them he won't do XFL, but they have to both give him a good time slot for WCW. So basically the talk of a second season is just a power play for Vince to get a good time slot for WCW.
So
sounds like a great
on
story.
TNN and UPN?
I don't buy it. I don't buy it for
That's
a second,
too much.
but yeah. But as far, yeah, it is too much. Now, the deal is, okay, UPN's contract for the XFL ends after this season. They can get out of it. It's not like NBC actually is going to have to pay some sort of a penalty because they have a 2-year unbreakable contract that they're obviously going to break. The UPN contract they can just get out of. Now, TNN's contract for the XFL is a contract that is actually for the life term of the league, which means that they cannot get out of this contract as long as Vince has it. But Vince obviously is not going to use TNN.
Can they pay a penalty, though, if they want to get out?
I don't. Why would they even bother? Do you know what I mean?
It's like air those games.
Yeah, but what ratings do they get on Sunday afternoon? It's not like they're getting any worse ratings than they would usually get. You know, it's not like UPN, which is giving up, prime time, and the affiliates are getting mad. I mean, TNN, 0.5 on a Sunday afternoon, it's no worse than they get anyway. I mean, it's not a nightmare for them, and why piss off Vince? Vince gives them Raw, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Actually, maybe they could make a deal and Vince go, hey, give us Sunday afternoon for wrestling. Actually, they would probably take that deal too.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. What's the lineup look like for Backlash? Well, hopefully they'll come up with one. The main event looks like Undertaker and Kane against Austin and Helmsley, and then maybe Benoit and Jericho against Regal and Angle. Maybe. We'll probably have a better idea tonight. Hopefully they'll start. It's 29th, so they got, got 3 weeks of television. Usually they don't, finish their lineups until, the Friday. Actually, usually they finalize the lineups for pay-per-views the Sunday before the pay-per-view, so they can shoot the final angles on the Monday and Tuesday TV.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I was wondering what the WF has in store next for Eddie Guerrero. Anything hinted? Because if the test would do little for the European title, I think they should put him against Taz. They may. What the hell?
Why not? Taz emails again.
Yeah.
They started coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's because it's our fault they do, though. So Ryan Anderson, do you know where
Eddie pretty much beat him clean last night, too. Low blow and a roll-up.
Yeah.
Didn't have the 15 people running in like WrestleMania.
Do you know when the book, what the book Foley is Good is all about? Does it continue or Have a Nice Day left off? I don't know the whole book. I think that a lot of the book is actually defending the WWF against all its criticism, which actually, and I was kind of told by the author himself, we were going through, actually I've talked to him a lot about this book, but I don't know exactly, I kind of have a good feeling of a lot of what he's going to do. And he told me that, the first book, how he skirted the drug issue, right? And and that was actually probably about the only criticism from Inside Wrestling. Well, the main criticism from people that listen to the show was, he skirted the drug issue. So he's addressing the drug issue, and he told me, unfortunately, a lot of people are going to get real down on how I handle it. So I think he addresses it by skirting it again. But maybe not. This goes, last week you said that you have never met Brian. I find that hard to believe. No, we lied. No, actually it's true. We've never met. Who has the best chance of these three of going to the WWF? Vince Russo, Bret Hart, or Eric Bischoff?
Bischoff.
Bret Hart.
Going to the WWF?
Of WWF taking him? I'd say Bret Hart. They can make more money with him.
I don't think Bret Hart's going back.
No, I don't think it'll happen. I'm just saying.
Oh, if they had the opportunity and all three guys wanted to come in?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bret.
Yeah, that's how I review it. Yes, As far as like,
But as of today, Bischoff.
You think that if the three want to come in,
I'm just saying Brett wouldn't want to come back, so it'd be down to Bischoff and Russo, so they'd take Bischoff.
Okay, of those three, okay, well, you're saying, yeah, I would agree. Okay, of the best chance, because Bret Hart wouldn't want to come back, you're right. So there'd be Russo and Bischoff. Yeah, I'd say Bischoff because Bischoff's a better television performer than Russo. Do you think Linda's surprise tonight will be the return of HBK? No. No. Do you think, Triple H winning the Intercontinental title was sudden and made no sense unless there's a working program between Jericho and Triple H? I mean, I think it made sense. They're trying to elevate the Intercontinental. Made sense in other ways, too. Let's see. Any news regarding Tori Wilson? No. I believe Jacqueline's contract is up for renewal. I think that she's already been renewed. In fact, I'm pretty much positive of that. When are the contracts for Steven Richardson and The Good Father up? I've heard they won't be renewed. I have no idea. And I don't know if that's true. Have Shane Douglas, Ernest Miller, Outright, and Disco been let go? I don't know what the status is of any of them. Some of the guys have been let go. But I don't know about Disco has not. Disco, I'm pretty sure hasn't been because I think I would know if he had. Ernest Miller, I'm pretty sure has not been let go, but I think Ernest Miller's got some time left, like a decent amount of time left on his contract anyway. Douglas, don't know. I mean, I don't know what the status is of Douglas. I don't think he's been let go though. Let's see. I don't know if he even has. Well, he probably does have cycles. This is from James Blunt, who goes, I seriously doubt WCW will be successful with a late night time slot. Now that WWF and WCW are one company, would it be possible to give WCW the TNN Live Wire hour and MTV Heat hour? Sure. If they wanted to, they could do that tomorrow. It's their show. I don't think it's necessary to have both Live Wire and Superstars, so there's no real loss there. And there's no real loss on either of them because neither of those shows. WCW needs almost primetime heat more than WWF does. Totally agree.
Now, how does that, I have a question real quick. The cycle, like the 90-day cycle, does it begin the day that you sign, so it's 90 days after you've signed, or does the cycle end on a specific day for everybody every 90 days?
No. It's everyone's different. It's okay. Like 90-day cycles from the day that you sign. So like one guy be May 12th, one guy be May 16th, one guy will be, yeah. Okay. It's from Patrick, who goes, I've noticed how Dean Malenko has been used on and off in the WWF. Unfortunately, he's been jobbed at quite a few times against really bad tag teams. Is Malenko on the outs, or are they moving him to WCW? I think that he's been considered being moved to WCW, actually. I don't think he's on the outs as far as that goes. Do you think it's possible that Jim Ross denying The Rock will be on the new WCW show? Do you think it's possible that he's denying it as a surprise to do the new storylines, like Rock appearing on the show would be played up as a surprise? JR did this with the Radicals who had yet to sign. That's true, he did do it with the Radicals who had yet to sign, but in this case, no. The movie's real. Let's see. What's the heat between Heyman and Cornette? Ask the next time Cornette's on the show. They've had heat for years and years, but a lot of it just stems from Cornette's, like when he did, there's just been a lot of things that Cornette, they just have heat back and forth. They have totally different philosophies of wrestling, and they're both passionate in their philosophies. And Cornette worked a couple of times and made some business deals with Heyman, and he thinks Heyman double-crossed him, believe it or not. Just like on the Gangsters thing, and then when Cornette went to work there, and just a lot of different, one time Cornette, gave a tape of some Smoky Mountain stuff for Paulie to use on TV, and he was supposed to get paid, and he never got paid, and so he says. So, and just philosophical differences of people who've known each other for 20 years and have totally different ideas on everything. Let's see. How would you rate Shane Douglas as a worker in his prime? Prime, which was many years ago. Good. Certainly never great, but good. Let's see. This is, who is most likely to win the Champion Carnival tournament? Let's see. If it was me, Kawada. If I was, and who may win. Let's see, it's Kawada, Taiokeya, and Tenryu are like the ones who have a chance, I think. I think Mike Barton is still alive points-wise, but the best that he'll do is lose in the finals, and I don't even think he'll do that. So I think probably Kawada.
I think Tenryu just won so many matches so fast, and I know he's got a bad neck, but he did do that 30-minute draw that, they're just setting him up to not win.
Yeah, I think to lose in the finals. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, is that they could. I don't know. There's. I could see Taioke going to the finals and losing to Kawada. No, because Tenryu's already locked in the finals. He's already in the finals. And then it's Kawada needs a draw with Steve Williams or a win over Steve Williams, which is actually tomorrow, to get into the finals. And I think Taioke would need to beat... Taioke and Mike Barton are tied, and if either of them win, if they don't do a draw, then one of them will also be in the finals, so they may end up with a three-way final. Actually, if they don't do a draw with those two, it will be... And Williams beats Kawada, in which case it would be Barton or Taioke against Tenryu. So Tenryu's in, and that's sort of how it stands right now. I know there are a lot of rumors about Shawn Michaels on Raw tonight. Okay.
There are?
I guess there are. I don't know why. Let's see. Is there any pro wrestling in China? I know there's no pro wrestling ability in China.
What?
Okay, that's cute. Since the WWF recently signed Jerry Lynn and Tajiri and probably Guido, do you think WWF will get...
I should apologize for that comment.
What?
Never mind.
Yeah. Do you think WWF will get a light heavyweight division on track? This is a joke. Let's see. I keep reading complaints that Triple H...
Sometimes we get questions like that just have to be a joke, but then I read them and I go, maybe this person's serious. The one last night in feedback about a feud between Sean Stasiak and China could really turn WCW around. I almost died right there on the spot.
That was pretty funny. I know they're hardcore, but what wrestler, if any, from XPW and CCW do you think is impressive enough to compete with the WWF guys? I have not seen enough of those guys. No one's like mentioned any names of those guys. I mean, I know CCW's got, God, who's the guy? I think it's Trent Acid. I saw him wrestle in Japan. He was really good. I'm not sure if Trent Acid's the guy, though. But there was one CCW guy, junior heavyweight guy, who's really, really good. I don't know if he's, again, junior heavyweight WWF, kind of tough. But of the XPW guys, actually, I have seen most of those guys, and I don't know of anyone there that's quite ready for the WWF. Let's see. You know what's funny is, first group of emails, they're all about Japanese wrestling. So, anyway, which I guess maybe, who knows. Anyway, we'll start. Who was the heel in the May 1st, 1999, or whatever it was, May 1st, the first Misawa Kawada match at the Tokyo Dome? There was no heel. They really don't have heels and baby faces in Japan when the guys wrestle each other. Why is Scott Norton so big in Japan? I actually have an answer to that, believe it or not. 10 years ago, when Scott Norton first went to Japan, Stan Hansen was really huge in Japan, and they were New Japan was looking for, and Vader was huge. And so that was the prototype of what, the Japanese promoters were looking for to introduce a new star. They tried with Tony Halm, who was horrible, and Scott Norton, who's also horrible. But they just pushed him to the moon, and in 1990-ish, when Scott Norton started going to Japan, and he was no better then than he is now, and probably no worse either, they had an array of workers, because Muto was young, Chono was young, Hase was awesome, and they put this guy over, and they were so good, especially Hase. Hase was so good at putting this guy over that he got over, and he just stayed over even though he's terrible, so that's the deal. They're into, if a big American gets pushed, they can get over. And Norton ended up becoming something of a legend there because he's been going there for 10 years and he's always been main event. They've always protected him, always kept him strong, held the IWGP title, and that's the deal. Let's see. Why shouldn't Kobashi wrestle again? Because his knees are shot and he's going to end up in a wheelchair if he does. And he'll come back too soon. And it's just a really sad story because the guy was like such an incredible wrestler. See, this is from John in Kelowna, BC, who says, in the paperback version of Mick Foley's book, he said that he had differences with another of the participants in the WrestleMania 2000 main event. Do you know who the participant was and what the problems were? I don't know. I think everyone thinks it was the Big Show, but I think it was The Rock. But I don't know that. I just got that feeling. Let's see. Who do you think's a better worker, Misawa or Kawada? Right now, I don't think there's any question. It's Kawada. Misawa's just too beat up. In their prime, probably Misawa in their prime. Better psychology. They were both awesome, though. Have New Japan and All Japan ever had an interpromotional show? Yeah, October 9th. They did. Pretty much it was built around that. Has anyone ever asked Brian Christopher what he thought about the Cat King situation? I don't think it'd be worth asking him because it's like, I don't think he would ever want to answer it because he's doomed, you know? I mean, all he can do is like say that like, you know, I mean, he can't say anything bad about Vince. You know, he's not in a position to do so. So I don't think he said anything. Somebody goes, I've heard Misawa Kawada in 1994 is considered the best match in the history of wrestling. Do you think that's true? I could not say any match is the best match in the history of wrestling, but Misawa and Kawada had many matches that were among the best matches I ever saw. Many of them, not just one of them. Let's see. When's the WF going to build up a new wave of wrestlers? I'm thinking about the period in late 99 and early 2000 where they got Jericho, Angle, Benoit, and the rest of the Radicals in quick succession. The problem at the moment seems to be a stagnation of the roster that leads to endless variations of Hunter, Austin, Kane, and Undertaker that we're getting. Is it difficult to elevate mid-card guys if there's no one ready to replace them, and who's ready in OVW or elsewhere? There's no one in OVW or elsewhere ready to come in and be in that level. There are guys that are... Steve Bradley's ready to come in. Rico Constantino's probably ready to come in. But I don't know that they would be... The thing with the WWF roster right now is it's so deep, and the standard is so high that no new guy is going to be able to come in and like be so spectacular. It's almost like they're doomed like what happened to All Japan and to a lesser extent New Japan, but definitely All Japan was when the standard of the work in the main events got so high, it made it almost impossible to create a new main eventer because they couldn't work good enough, but then the guys who they had as main eventers got stale because they kept wrestling each other all the time. I know, Brian, what do you think? Brian's gone. I was wondering. Let's see. Let me know when he's back. Let's see. What do you think was the best WrestleMania main event match? I'd say maybe this year's, because Savage Steamboat wasn't the main event. All the matches that we talked about over, you know, in the thing, I mean, even Bret Hart and Austin, which was obviously the biggest draw on that show, Undertaker and Sid was considered the main event. So I would say, best main event, I would say Rock and Austin this year. Yeah, I would say that. What is your best guess for main event at WrestleMania 18? Too early to even think about it. Let's see. Brian's still not there. What's the plan with... Oh, Brian's here. We're going to get just a second.
I'm back.
All right. Okay. What would the WWF buy rate equal in ratings? Like if Viacom wanted one of the WWF pay-per-views to put on CBS for free, what do you think the rating would be, and how much dollars would WWF charge CBS? Like if you put WrestleMania for free, well, WrestleMania is going to be a $40 million plus show this year, but that's not. But WWF's share will be over, let's say, what will it end up being? 16, 19, 20 million.
13?
20 if you include the well, that's right. Just for the pay-per-view, it'll end up being about 15, let's say 15. Okay. 16. More than 16. 17. Okay. It's going to end up 7. Let's just say 17. So WWF would have to charge CBS $17 million to make up for that loss. So if CBS were to pay them $17 million for one 3-hour show, then it would be worth it. I don't know if that's going to happen.
What the rating would do for a show like that?
That's got nothing to do with ratings. That just has to do with how much they would have to charge.
I think it was asking, what do you think it would get as far as a rating?
If it was on CBS, I think it might get like an 8 to a 10. Don't you think? It could on CBS? Yeah, I think so. It could get it. I mean, if they can get almost a 6 for a Raw on TNN, they can get a 10 on CBS with a month of promotion, 2 months of promotion. Yeah, I think so. Let's see. Any word on whether Goldberg or Booker T will sign? There's nothing new on any of this stuff. Everything's, no one has gotten any contract buyout offers from WCW, so or from Turner, Time Warner, whatever it is. So as far as all of this goes, everything's in the same position that it's been in from day one. That's why one of the reasons why I think that, they pushed the starting date back to June 9th, because there's just not enough time to get everyone ready, because, until these guys get offered a buyout and take the buyout, WWF can't exactly make plans for them.
I wonder why it's taking so long for them to at least make an offer. Every week they're paying out money.
They're all screwed up. Let's see. Of the wrestlers who have wrestled in the last 20 years, who has wrestled the most matches over the last 20 years? Maybe Flair. Think? Yeah. I would just as a guess, I'd say Flair. Yeah. He hasn't wrestled a lot of matches in the last few years, but how many guys have been? How many guys have been around?
Steamboat said something like he'd wrestled 6,000. So just think about Flair, who's still working in 2001.
Let's see. They were probably working. Let's see, in the 80s during the Crockett era. I mean, they were working 250 matches a year. I mean, there was a period. Probably late 70s, maybe even more than that. I mean, because that's when they were really going 6 days a week, twice on Sundays a lot of the time, twice on holidays. I don't doubt they were doing 300 matches a year in that late 70s era. And there's no one, is there anyone around from the late 70s besides Flair? From that era where they were really working every day?
That's working somewhat regularly now?
That's still around? In any capacity. So, I mean, I'm not talking about like Dusty, who's like sort of around, but, hasn't wrestled in years, regularly. I mean, all of those guys, they're all pretty much gone. So I would think it almost for sure be Flair, because nobody in Japan wrestled that kind of a schedule. I mean, like where they ever wrestled like 250 matches a year. Let's see. I've been thinking about.
How about Aguayo?
You know what? You're right. Someone like that, because they used to wrestle tons of dates. Yeah, you know what? And Aguayo wrestled more regularly than Flair the last few years. It could be Aguayo. Yeah, that's a pretty good answer. I've been thinking about it, and if you give it some thought, I think this ECW bankruptcy thing is a work. Now, I know what you're thinking. You don't work a bankruptcy, but Paul Heyman's really smart and manipulative, and no one sees it coming. He files for bankruptcy, so everyone thinks he's completely out of the game. But then when the WWF releases all the WCW guys with high salaries, he scoops them up, quits WWF, starts back ECW on Fox. And the guy goes,
why he filed bankruptcy? So he doesn't have to pay any money.
Yeah. No, that letter was a total spoof. Okay. I just want you to know. But I think it was just a spoof. It was a spoof on the kind of letters that we get, I think. Okay, do you think
Send
Tank
that to
Abbott...
our feedback section. I appreciate those.
Do you think Mike Tyson will accept Tank Abbott's challenge? Please, come on. I mean, I wrote that thing. I wrote that thing on the website, okay? And it is a true story that he wants to do that, okay? But I wrote it, and I made sure that everyone knows this will never happen. And now it's like on all these websites, people going like, I wonder if this match is going to take place. It is not going to ever take place. Ever. I mean, it makes as much sense as that Ogawa thing with Tyson. It's I don't want to say ever because maybe the day will come where Tyson will need money, but it'll never happen with Tank. It's going to happen. If it's going to happen like that, it'll be, someone with like mainstream value like Hulk Hogan or something. Anyway, let's go to Chris. Chris, what's going on?
Hi, how's it going?
It's going pretty good.
I was taking a look at that Russo site for whatever reason, because my brother was on it. And there's if Brian's been to the site, I don't know if there's a game on the site where it's kind of like the whack-a-mole thing that he talked about in the newsletter that time, where there's these top hats and a face pops out, like Goldberg, Russo, Dave Meltzer, Luger, and Miss Elizabeth. And if you click on them, you get a point. If you click on Russo, you lose a point. But if you click on certain ones, you get a point. And I think if you click on your face, you get like 2 points or something. I think it's a bonus.
Wow.
Point. Yeah, I think it might only be 1 point. I might have that wrong because I didn't spend a lot of time playing the game. But just so you know, he's got you on his site in a hat, popping out of a hat.
Dave, you've moved up in the whack-a-mole world.
Oh my God.
Do you still not know what a whack-a-mole is? I know last time you didn't.
I sort of do now.
Sort of do. Well, you're part of one of the games online, so.
Okay.
I read his commentary too, and he did say that thing about. He says for 7, it said it beat. He said that the segment beat Raw for 7 minutes for every minute, and that why don't respectable. This was his kind of snide remark. Why don't respectable journalists ever report this? Check the numbers; they don't lie.
Okay, have you checked the numbers?
Have I checked the numbers? No, I don't like Russo, so I could care less.
Well, you can still check the numbers, and they may be true. It may have been true 2.5 years ago. So as we said, or 3, because there was a period when a lot of WCW segments were beating a lot of WCW. The first, I can tell you, I mean, I remember this just because I wrote it when Bret Hart retired, and I remember the stat. There was a thing where Rock threw Steve Austin in the was it in the bridge over in the bridge or something. It was a big Steve Austin segment, and it went head-to-head with Bret Hart.
He threw the Intercontinental belt or something over the bridge, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like No.
I think it was a different week. He threw the belt off one week, and then he threw Steve Austin off.
No, he threw Steve Austin, but he did it face-to-face. But anyway,
that's right, yes.
He
threw Steve Austin into the thing, I think, and then, or maybe he threw the belt, I don't remember. But anyway, it went head-to-head with Bret Hart's debut on WCW-TV, and Bret Hart's debut on WCW-TV beat it by, I think it was 4.2 to 2.7 were the rating points, but whatever it was by a big substantial margin. And you know, what does that mean today? It means nothing.
I was just going to say, he can say all he wants and pick out all these segments, but the bottom line is, you're at the Giants games, and Vince McMahon owns everything, and I mean, what the hell's the point?
And he gutted that company.
Yeah, it was all. I mean, and then there's another segment. I don't think he wrote this. I think it was written by somebody like the webmaster maybe, or whatever it is. All these booking ideas for the new WCW. Now, if you go and read it, it's on the main page. It says new WCW booking ideas or whatever, and there are actually some good ideas. I think the guy's name was like Ryan DiBiase or something like that. And the thing is, when you read them and you think to yourself that this whole website is VinceRusso.org, like this tribute to him or whatever it is, all these things that are there, he could have did when he was there. Like one of them, this big idea is a big Bill Goldberg, Mike Awesome program, and that Mike Awesome should be this main eventer and blah, 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 blah. But what the hell did he do with Mike Awesome when he was there? He put him in that
70s guy, or or was it the Fat Chick Thriller?
The Fat Chick Thriller, and then the leisure suit. And who the hell was going to take that serious against Goldberg? You know, I mean, as you read it, you look at it, and you just kind of, and it wasn't Russo saying these are my ideas, but it's somebody on his site, and it's like, I don't know, it gets you kind of irritated when you read it.
There's a lot of funny things on that website.
Yeah, unintentionally, too. I mean, some intentionally, maybe, some not. What I wanted to ask you, a few things about Japan, because I got a couple of tapes from Tori Human recently, and I'm sort of new to following that. So, at the end of one of the matches, Ultimo Dragon does a run-in in a suit and does all these kicks and like kind of clears the ring. I thought he was like incapable of wrestling. Like
that's why he was doing kicks.
Well, I mean, but he everything he did was like, I mean, he didn't do any. I know it was his elbow. Like he didn't do any slams or suplexes or anything.
He can't do anything with one arm, but he can. Yeah, he can't close his hand or anything like that. But he can still kick.
Oh, okay, yeah, because he looked great doing everything he did. I'm looking at him like, how's
I remember the run-in. He did look great, but again, yeah, he couldn't do a match though. I don't think.
Oh, okay, that's why I was just curious. And who's Shiryu? I can't say his name. Shiryu 2. The one that Kaz Ash used to play, the old gimmick he had?
Yeah, the new Shiryu and Michinoku, I don't know.
Oh, okay, because he was pretty good. I just wasn't sure. I mean, I saw one match with the Curry Man. It was like a 6-man with this guy, Jody Fleisch, and there was a lot of nice spots in that match. I'd never seen him before, so. And the other thing I was going to ask, a friend of mine was asking me about this. Remember the old Legion of Doom, Powers of Pain weightlifting angle they did? He wanted to know if that was like, if they were legit, like, if those guys were lifting what they were saying they were lifting, if they were real powerlifters.
I believe the weights were legit.
But spotting.
I'm trying to remember because I remember there was a big thing at the time, because usually in wrestling, historically, the weights have been worked when you do stuff like that. And I believe when that was going on, that those guys wanted the weights to be legit, but I don't know how heavy they went, because Hawk is was not at that time, and probably never was, nearly as strong a bench presser as his legend, as fans would have thought. So, but Animal was a very strong bencher, and I know Warlord was, super strong bencher, and Barbarian probably was pretty strong 500-pounder too. So, I think, like when they finally piled the weight on and did the angle, I think that the weights were real in that segment. Yeah.
Okay. We got into this discussion about the kind of one you had recently about the strongmen in wrestling. So he was asking me about that. Are they gonna, if they do this tag team main event at WrestleMania, are they gonna do a stipulation? Because generally, like tag matches that don't really, even though they're big names, they don't seem to have the interest. You know what I mean? They don't garner the interest from people if there's no title on the line or.
I hate that though when they put the title on the line for those matches.
So do I. I'm not
like a tag match.
Well, maybe they'll have the Intercontinental and the World title on the line, and then if Hunter gets pinned, then the guy wins the Intercontinental. I could easily see them doing that. Yes.
Yeah, like they did that with Owen and Bulldog and Yokozuna, some kind of match.
Yeah, they may do that. But I'm thinking the idea is of this match. Just what I'm thinking is that it's to set up a singles with Austin and Undertaker, and if that's the case, then the logical finish would be Austin getting pinned by Undertaker this time. And to do that, you wouldn't want those titles on the line.
That's true.
Because then the whole build-up is like, okay, then you do the title match at the next pay-per-view.
Yeah. Just last thing I want to say, I was reading, been reading the Observer lately because I've been, subscribing to it regularly, and I still have things to finish reading. There's so much stuff in it. It's just, you do a great job with that.
Thanks.
I read things and just learn things as I go along, even federations, in other countries I don't follow, but, I know a little bit about it. It helps with a lot of the information, and Figure 4 too is it's too funny. It really is.
It is too funny.
The WrestleMania recap he did where he just goes off on China, I couldn't stop laughing. And it was more serious, and I'm just sitting there laughing about how he said, at least save him
the
time.
funniest thing about Brian's stuff is even though it's funny, but it's true funny as opposed to just trying it's just trying to
make a stupid joke.
Trying to make jokes. It's there's always a meaning to the joke rather than just a joke there to be funny and with no purpose.
Right, exactly. That's I read his year in review that you always raved about.
That was awesome.
The lines about Russo, how he swerved his wife by picking up orange juice instead of milk when she had those. That was great. I thought that was funny as hell. And then how they had the big plan. How Bischoff and Russo had a big plan with all these wrestling minds to make $60 million in 9 months, but Russo convinced Bischoff that we should swerve everybody and actually lose $60 million in 9 months. That was some of the funniest stuff I've ever read. So I'm just plugging that and kissing a little ass and letting everybody know they should subscribe to both of those newsletters. And that's it.
Thanks.
Okay. The contest Russo was talking about was in September of 2000. It was when Raw. It was I think September 25th, 2000. Which opened with Austin's first interview after a long absence, and then they did the bikini contest. It was the one that Pamela Paulshock pulled the power play to win. So anyway, look
is
up
that the one he's talking about?
Yeah. So look up the comparison quarter hours. It'd be the September 25th, I believe, would be the day, although it's not here. I'm guessing that's the date. So of 2000. In fact, the quarter hours we were referring to were 4.81 for Raw and 3.11 for Nitro. So that's the end of that. What?
What about that 7 minutes though?
Okay, whatever. I'm sure that's about what they were. Let's see. Any chance that Benoit and Jericho will team up long-term and compete in the tag team division? They could freshen up the division. It'd be nice to see the tag straps on someone new. Plus a feud with Edge and Christian would be great. Actually, Benoit and Jericho against Edge and Christian would be good. I think that it would take them down, though, because the tag team division in WWF has never been a main event division, and it'll kind of if it was old-style 1980s wrestling, I wouldn't mind it because you could have two singles guys going to tag team for the world tag team titles, like the old NWA style, so to speak, and it would be good and it would elevate everyone. But for Benoit and Jericho to become a regular tag team and feud with Edge and Christian, even if they would get the tag team titles, it's actually a step downward by the way the WWF does business. So I don't want to see it because I don't want to see them take the step downward.
I mean, look at Undertaker and Kane. They're two top guys, tag team. If they face Edge and Christian, they just kill them.
Yep.
And I think they have, actually.
Many times. I think Undertaker by himself has a few times, too.
Yes.
Would Scott Steiner, Kevin Nash, or Bill Goldberg be huge in Japan? Scott Steiner was a real big star in Japan for years and years. Because of his athletic ability and everything. He's much bigger now. He would get over because he's part of their culture, and everything like that. I don't know that his matches would obviously not be as good as they were, not even close. He actually had good matches, really good matches there. Kevin Nash, I don't think so. I don't think that he would do well there. And Bill Goldberg.
But at least he's tall.
He is tall and he's big. I just don't think it would. But Sid Vicious never did well there.
Yeah.
So it's just that size alone. Although Norton did. It doesn't matter how you're pushed, I guess. I don't think that Nash would do well there. As far as Goldberg, certainly the first time he would do real well just because it's Bill Goldberg and the people would make a big deal out of it. Long term, if he was there all the time, I don't think it would work out very well. But as a special guest, maybe 3 times a year, I think he could do very well. It's from Ben Miller, who goes, what are TNN's ratings for early Saturday evenings? I don't know. If the WF wants to attract an audience, it seems that getting an early evening Saturday time slot might help keep some of the WCW fans who used to watch WCW Saturday night. Yeah, I think that old WCW Saturday night time slot is preferable to the one they're getting. I know this isn't going to happen right away because the time slot is set, but I'm curious if you know what kind of ratings they get at that time. Again, I don't know the answer.
I don't think it's so much set yet.
It's not etched in. It's not like it can't be changed.
Yeah.
The thing is that a lot of people keep looking at his ratings, and with wrestling, and not even just with wrestling. Ratings are only a tool to determine what advertisers are going to spend. And it really doesn't matter because if they can get a show that does an 0.7 and an advertiser will spend more money on that show than a wrestling show that does a 2.0, the station will go with the 0.7 in more cases than not. And I mean, we've seen this many times in the past. We just saw it with WCW. I mean, the fact is the show that they're replacing Nitro with did a lower rating than Nitro, but they're probably making more money at it. The Dog Show on USA always generated them way more money than Raw ever did, which is why they used to replace it, even though there were years the Dog Show beat Raw and there were years that Raw beat the Dog Show. But it's like,
they're not like the end of the story anyway. I mean, if they did like a 1.5 rating and they could still tour and make money and do an occasional pay-per-view and make money, then the rating really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Yeah, Let's see. This is regarding Mick Foley, who he's upset at WrestleMania. He goes, I suspect you're right about The Rock because Foley has publicly said he was really upset with The Rock, both beating on him so much and then not asking him backstage if he was sure that was okay. Now, that would have been Royal Rumble the year before. So that's not necessarily the same thing. I know that Foley was a little bit unhappy that he praised Rock in his book, and then when in Rock's book, which was this self-centered masterpiece, the only guys that Rock really praised, if you read the book, were like, he praised Bret Hart, and he praised Austin, and he didn't really praise Foley. So I think there was a little, but I don't know if that has to do with WrestleMania. What are Japan contracts like? Could WWF bring in someone like Kawada? If they want to pay anyone enough money, they can get anyone they want. They got the money. I don't think they want Kawada. I don't think they want Japanese guys because Kawada works stiff and that's not their style. Do you think it would work? I'd love to see Helmsley against Kawada. Again, it's different style. I think they're both good enough workers. They'd probably have a really good match. But, Helmsley's, it's like, the Kawada style, again, is non-gimmick, and Helmsley, what he does, to get over in matches is, good use of foreign objects, breaking tables. It's like, it's not even, it's something different. They're both great workers, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Is there any hope for WoW survival at all? It was the only wrestling show besides SmackDown I could get in a cableless household. Long term, as far as making money, it's like if someone wants to pump money into something forever, it can always survive. But as far as being a profitable entity, no, there's no chance for that as a profitable entity. Let's see. This is somewhat an unimportant question, but what do you call wrestlers if you talk to them backstage? Say if you saw Triple H backstage, would you call him Hunter or Paul? I don't know him.
I think everybody would call him Hunter.
But I would say Hunter. Most cases, unless it's someone that you've known
weird.
for.
It kind of depends on everybody.
Yeah, depends on who where you know him. If it's someone that it's like when it comes to a wrestler, if it's someone that you've known for a long, long time, you usually call him by the first name they used when you knew him. Like. I can't even say that. Most of the time, if I get a message just from a wrestler, in 99 times out of 100, they leave their stage name. They don't leave their real name. So it's just how it is. You become your character. Do you think something like a WF pay-per-view on free TV will ever happen? No, because it will then be a free TV show. It can't be a pay-per-view. Anyway, this is someone Iron Man. Most matches. Here's a guy with a list. Perro Aguayo, number 1. Could be number 1. Ric Flair, number 2. Jerry Lawler, number 3. That's a good one. Lawler's a good one, too.
Yeah.
Bill Dundee, he's never retired, and he worked, he worked a full schedule. Gypsy Joe, I don't think Gypsy Joe, although I don't know. And then Mil Mascaras never worked like, 8-9 matches a week in Mexico. I think that there's Mexican wrestlers like Liz Mark and stuff that worked a lot more than Mil Mascaras. Mil Mascaras had always slowed down by 79. What are the chances of Tank Abbott fighting in mixed martial arts if his pro wrestling career is over? I think that he'll try, and I don't think it depends on who they put against him, but it's may not be good. Okay, then he goes, there's a Monday Nitro on March 22nd, 1999, okay, where Nitro had a bikini thing, and there was Raw that night, but Steve Austin did not ever go head-to-head with a bikini thing. So that's the other one. That's the one with Tori Wilson where Kevin Nash said, "Eat your heart out."
Okay. So, that's what I figured he was talking about, but I didn't know he was talking about with Austin returning that night.
Yeah. Well, it would have been that September 25th. That was when Austin returned.
Yep.
Remember because they, yeah, so yeah, it didn't even come close.
Like anything was even coming close in 2000. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. This is from someone who says, I was listening to The Law last night, and Jeff said Big Boss Man was going to be Regal's bodyguard. I didn't know that, but, Jeff's got...
God. Why?
Yeah. Yeah, I had heard we're going to put David Taylor in some spots similar to that, so who knows. But, Jeff's got pretty good sources in WF. I would guess it's probably true. Let's go to Phil in D.C. Phil, what's up?
Hey, guys, I got a bunch of little different things you guys have talked about.
Okay.
Another person for maybe Iron Man, El Satanico. He's been wrestling since '73.
Absolutely. Good pick because he's probably been wrestling 7-8 matches a week for that whole period, and I don't remember any injuries. Yeah, I think that's a good pick.
And he's just a pretty good worker too. I mean, for a guy, I guess I'm looking at his birthday, it was 49, so 50-year-old wrestler.
He's 50 now. Yeah. Oh no, he's 51. He's 51 because he was born in 49.
Right.
And so born late 49. So yeah, he'd be 51 years old.
Yes, I mean, for somebody that I think over 50 wrestlers, maybe him and Gran Hamada. How about Gran Hamada?
But Gran Hamada stopped
the schedule, huh?
Yeah, Gran Hamada stopped working that schedule many, many years ago, whereas Satanico never stopped.
Right. A couple of other things. Go back to that Vince Russo thing that everybody's talking about. But the most amusing thing I thought on this rant, you guys haven't even mentioned yet, where he talked about, and I quote here, other things of note, I'm close to signing a deal where I will be booking a few shows overseas throughout the year. Hopefully these shows will be on pay-per-view. So I was thinking, I was reading the results of that New Japan paper.
Oh, maybe he was a super booker. No, that was Inoki.
That explains it.
Yeah, I know, really. Yeah, we're going to shoot a big angle during the commercial.
I mean, it sounds like it. I mean, only if, Kira Hokuto ran out during the Katsuki Sasaki match and took her top off or something like that. A little addition.
Oh, my God.
It turned on him for no reason. She had to do that.
Yeah. And then they were together the next week, saying it was all a swerve.
Shiryu 2 was fantastic. Who's a Mexican luchador who worked a lot of Big Japan dates.
Okay, so I know the name Fantastic, and I've seen him as Fantastic before.
Right.
Okay, I didn't know they were the same.
So that's who he worked as Shiryu 2. And that match, I guess the guy's name was Chris, right? That he was talking about was on 12/21/1999, and it was Shiryu 2, Minoru Fujita, Jody Fleisch against Sema, Curryman, and Superboy. Have you seen that match?
I don't know. I've seen a lot of Michinoku. I mean, I've seen. I may have because there was a match I saw with Superboy that was like out of this world with Curryman as a team. I remember that from. So I may have seen that match.
It made the Death Valley Driver 200 matches of the decade. It was probably for pure spot fests, maybe the best one I've ever seen. As far as like the spots they were doing were so high level, they didn't blow anything. I mean, the finish was amazing. Jody Fleisch is he's not a great wrestler, but like a really good flyer. Leaped onto the top rope to do his shooting star press to the floor springboard, and Chris Daniels in the Curryman outfit leaped up, landed on the top rope with him, and gave him like a Uranagi off the top rope to the back to the mat. It was like amazing.
Yeah, those guys are nuts.
Yeah, I mean just like the balance that took, and if you haven't seen that match, it's really worth tracking it down.
But that sounds like something like if either guy slipped, they would both be dead.
Oh yeah, totally.
It's not worth it.
No, they totally just kill themselves. One of the people I think they mentioned whether any you talked about guys who would be ready to be brought up is I think Joey Abs is a good enough worker, at least from the stuff I've seen back when he worked with the Hardys.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of charisma though. They'd have to give him like a good gimmick.
He had a good one when he was in Omega.
Give him a sweater vest back.
No, that's like ancient.
Oh, that was horrible.
You know the thing with Joey Abs is that no one realizes because he was doing the sweater vest gimmick? He's huge.
He's enormous. I've used to go to those Omega shows. He's got to be 6'5", 280 or something like that.
Yeah, he's got, that's what I was thinking, is like close to 280, and he's got these giant pecs and shoulders. He looks like a bigger Hercules Hernandez. Yeah. I mean, like with that kind of totally blown up guy that like no one realizes because he did the sweater vest gimmick.
Yeah, that was such a career killer. But I mean, he used to work in Omega with like all the Hardys and all those guys, so he's really good at wrestling smaller wrestlers. Like he had really great matches with Champagne, who's got to be like 5'10", 180 pounds, and he had good matches with guys like Shannon Moore and Jeff Hardy. And he's really good at working smaller guys for somebody that big.
they had a SmackDown taping. I think it was at the Oakland Coliseum. But him and S.A. Rios had a, I don't know if it was a heat match or a dark match, but it was the best match on the entire show.
Yeah,
he worked real well with S.A. Rios.
I just don't like the idea so much of putting guys like that people remember as like, the guy from the Mean Street Posse with the new WCW crew. I think they should take some guys and elevate them from WWF and put them over there, and then bring some of those guys like Joey Abs up to WWF.
Well, I mean, you could repackage them. There's a certain percentage of the audience pays a lot of attention to wrestling.
People recognize.
I mean, do you really think the average fan really remembers that Mean Street Posse gimmick from 2 years ago? I mean, it seems like the kind of thing that would be easily forgotten.
No, they, Phil, I swear to God they do, because when I was at that same taping I'm talking about, when they played that music, it wasn't even the guys. The people popped like crazy, like these stars had come back, and it was, Rodney.
Oh man, that's so bad.
He wasn't that good. In fact, I think he wrestled Raven, and I think it was Raven, but whatever it was, they had like this incredibly horrible match.
Oh, I know. I'm not gonna defend the Mean Street Posse again. I think you took me to task last time I tried that. And we were talking about Kevin Nash in Japan. You were talking about Kevin Nash in Japan, and the first tape I ever reviewed for the Death Valley Drive was maybe 2 years ago. It was a Best of Jushin Liger tape.
Oh, the tag match with El Gigante, right?
No, it was Jushin Liger and Kevin Nash's Oz against Hiro Saito and Scott Norton. And it's as good as you'd expect it to be.
Oh, my God.
And he came out with the gimmick, like the hat and the mask.
Oh, my God.
Dyed hair. And he worked in that match, and then they showed clips of a match I really wish I had.
What reaction did he get coming out in that outfit?
Deafening. No, the Japan...
Really?
No.
No.
I was going to say that's what you could do again.
Who's this big goof in a clown suit? That's what they were thinking.
Exactly, but they had showed
That's what they were thinking here when he came out like that, too.
But they showed clips of like a dream match, and I really wish I had the match full on tape, where it was him, Oz, in a singles match against Shinya Hashimoto. And the clips they showed were just Shinya Hashimoto kicking his lungs out. It was great. It's like I wish I had the whole match on tape, and I wish they'd run it again today. And where'd you get the Sano tape, Dave? Because all I heard around the internet was that show was untaped.
That is what I heard on the internet, but I got a tape express mailed to me this morning, and I know it's that match because I watched about 2 minutes of it. So someone definitely taped it, yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna have to search it out then, because I did hear it was.
Is it a handheld?
Yeah, it's a handheld. Yeah, they didn't tape it for television or anything like that.
Okay, cool. So it exists out there. So
it absolutely exists. Yes.
Excellent. Well, watch it and tell me whether it's worth spending my time and energy searching it down.
Okay, I'm going to watch that whole card probably tonight after Raw, so tomorrow on the show I'll let you know.
Excellent.
Okay?
Great. Good talking to you guys.
Well, also, I want to make mention that on the site right now, there's a TV review of Jacked by Nilton Fernandez of Winnipeg, and it's really funny. I mean, it was like as good as some of your stuff, Brian. Did you see? Have you seen that one yet?
No, I haven't seen it.
You should look. It's a crack up. He's really funny. Anyway, let me get to a couple of these emails and we'll get back to phone calls. What do you consider the best ring entrances of all time? What best ring entrances? It says Vintage Ric Flair, Undertaker of the 90s, Shawn Michaels, Goldust, Gangrel, Michael Hayes with the Freebirds, DX. God, it's so different. I mean, I remember when the DX thing in late, what would this be, late 1997. I mean, as far as crowd noise, Inoki and The Rock, of course, or Steve Austin. Yeah. But I mean, as far as elaborate, was it Inoki or Muto? Some guy came out, I think it was Inoki, and they had the big harp playing his song at one of the Dome shows. I think that might have been the best. I don't remember if it was Inoki or Great Muta, but I think that was one of the best ring entrances I ever saw. Definitely not Godfather when, who was that guy at that WrestleMania, not this year, but last year? That was awful.
Oh my God, when he rapped the song for him?
Oh my God, yeah.
That was horrible.
Yeah.
Even like that DX band when they played, Shawn Michaels music live for that one, the DX pay-per-view. That was pretty horrible.
I thought that was okay.
Really? Sometimes live bands are right, but sometimes I think they're just, like, we talked about The Godfather. That was just hideous.
Yeah. Michaels used to have a really cool ring entrance.
The first time DX did their ring entrance with the music and everything.
Yeah, now, when I remember this is 97, when the first time they did that, and I remember watching it going like, this is going to change wrestling. I remember I told me that when I saw that ring entrance, the way they, flashed all that stuff together and with the song, it's like, this is it. This is like, they found it, I knew it. They found it. And it was like, WCW's in more trouble than they think. Cause this one, WCW was like just killing them. And, eventually that turned out to be the case. But yeah, I don't know, to me that hit me really strong. Undertaker, it's real elaborate theatrical thing with all the druids on the big shows, but I never really got into that one as much as like the Michaels ring entrances were real good. The Goldust was a big production. Gangrel, coming up from the bottom. Didn't Canyon, they were going to do that with Canyon, right?
I think he did come up from the stage one time. It's like
he did it like 2 or 3 times right at the end. It wasn't as good as Gangrel.
He got a hell of an entrance, and then it was all over.
Yeah. Hayes, Freebird ring entrance was really, really good. When they had of course it's a different era, but when they had like those Confederate capes and everything on some of the big shows in Dallas. Yeah. It's from John Pope, who goes, lots of people seem to forget ECW started out as a regional promotion. Would a new promotion be better off starting in a small market and building their product instead of trying to launch nationally? Yes. I would agree. Not so much because they wouldn't, I don't think they would be able to make money on a regional basis, but what I think is good is you'd lose less. And also, you'd be able to, if you did like a regional company, in fact, I even like suggested this to people if they want to start something up, is that you get like a local thing and you run regionally 4 or 5 nights a week for a year, so the guys are all ready. And then when you go on national TV, you know what you're doing rather than go on, like, do the XFL gimmick where you're on national TV, you have no idea what you're doing, then 5 weeks later go, oh, please give us another chance after everyone's tuned off.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would think
I would think it'd be a good idea, too, if you're doing that sort of thing, to do a lot of tapings where you're doing it, even if you don't have TV, but you do a lot of tapings where it's live to tape, where everybody has time cues, and the show has to end at a certain time, and everything has to be, so when you're ready for TV, when you go out there, you're not running long or running short or having guys not know what to do when you go, 30 seconds, go home or whatever. I think it's important that a company does that to prepare for TV, as opposed to just being, left in the dark.
UPW is doing that now.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
They run it like it's a Raw show.
Yep.
Where
you don't even need TV to do it. Just have a guy back there with a stopwatch.
Yeah, well, they tape it. They're just, I don't know what they do it. Actually, they do it for a live webcast is actually how they do it.
Yeah.
So, I want to make mention, I have not mentioned this, but, as best, I believe that Ken Shamrock will not be on the show tomorrow, but he will be on a week from tomorrow. So but that's all being worked out, or will be worked out probably the next day. So I just wanted to get that out.
I hope it's worked out the next day.
Yeah, I know. We just won't have him on.
It's tomorrow.
That would be the first time. Yeah, really. Don't forget the great time slot WCW will get on the West with its Saturday night time slot. Actually, TNN is a staggered feed, so it's the exact same time slot on the West Coast.
Yeah.
11 to 1. Unless you got a dish. If you got a dish, you can watch it at 8, which actually is what I will do. In WCW, when NWO was created, I heard it was from All Japan and New Japan, and an angle that Bischoff heard about. Actually, it was New Japan and UWFI. Yeah, and Bischoff went to a pay-per-view at the Tokyo Dome, and it was sold out. I forget which one it was. I think it was they did 3 big ones, and I don't remember which one again that he was at, but he saw it. The heat was incredible, and he was
like 67,000 people there.
Well, there was 3 of them, and they all sold out. The first Muto Takada was like 67, and then the last 2 were like they had the Muto Takada rematch that did like 64, 65, and then they had the Hashimoto Takada where Hashimoto beat Takada for the title, and that was like 64 also. So they had three straight sellouts at the Tokyo Dome. And
I can just see Bischoff there, like the front row with the gears spinning, seeing all these people in the crowd, and that's where it started.
JJ saw the same thing. Remember, the story there, right?
Oh, yeah.
JJ went to the Tokyo Dome when they did it was the Ogawa Murakami against Hashimoto and Azuka match from January 4th, 2000 Tokyo Dome. And this was right when they were trying to get rid of Russo. And JJ came back, and it was like, that had incredible heat. I remember when I saw that, it was the same feeling. When I saw that match, it was the same feeling I had when I watched the DX thing we talked about. Totally different things, but I would watch that and go, this is something so totally different, and it's really, really good. Except for the DX thing, you can do that ring entrance 52 weeks a year on TV. This kind of a match you can only do so often. But the whole thing is you got to, if you know when to do it, it was just such an awesome style of work that I'd never seen before, kind of a work-shoot thing with really brutal punches and everything, that everyone believed, and the heat was out of this world. So JJ comes back with that and, had no idea what he saw, but he knew he saw something really good, and never. They actually
Then he watched
came up
TV and saw a bunch of 1-minute matches with Oklahoma, and he said something's got to change.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, they all started working on ideas, and by the time they got there, I think I don't know, they had to beat Tank Abbott with a crossface. They didn't know what they were doing.
When they played Jim Ross's music on SmackDown, were you afraid that Oklahoma was going to come out?
Yes.
You know what else is so horrible, but I was at a gymnastics meet 2 weeks ago, and I'm standing there and they do the national anthem, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the flag, and they're playing the music, and I swear to you, I was waiting for MIA's music to play.
Oh.
I thought for sure that something was going to happen, it was going to get interrupted.
Yeah. Yeah, the Canadians are going to attack the Patriot.
That's right.
Yeah, when is Bret Hart going to write a book on his career? He's actually doing that right as we speak. Where are Barry Orton, Jerry Allen, and Bob Bradley these days? Jerry Allen died, who's Jerry Oski, died many years ago of a heart attack when he was 32 years old. Barry Orton is living in Las Vegas, and I don't know what he's doing. He was going to write a book, but he never did. And Bob Bradley...
And he's still writing it.
Yeah, maybe. Bob Bradley, I have no idea whatever happened to Bob Bradley. This is from someone who goes, MattRats.com is awesome. I don't care that it's Backstreet Boys style. The high spots are insane. I think that they would move right into the number 2 slot. I wouldn't go that far, but I enjoyed it. It was good, Let's see. Seriously, is there any pro wrestling in China? There have been occasional shows. There have been occasional shows there by Japanese promotions, but they don't have any circuits or anything like that as far as I know of. Let's go to Curtis in California. Curtis, what's going on?
Hello?
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine. I was wondering what's going on with Raven and this whole Christ thing. Because I remember when I used to see when ECW used to say stuff like, I've been crucified for my sins and stuff.
Yeah, he did say that. I guess he can't say that in WWF.
How come?
He even got crucified.
Yeah, he says stuff like
crucified.
That. And he comes out with his arms, all on the side, like a cross.
Yeah, like crucified, yeah. That's just his gimmick. It's got nothing to do with Jesus Christ being crucified. It's the Raven pose.
Oh. I was wondering, remember that...
kind of like the Undertaker symbol.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a cross. It's a symbol.
Yeah. I had 2 comments about WrestleMania. I thought that TLC match sucked. It was too quick.
Oh, too quick. 15 minutes is long enough. Those guys were going to die if they went too much longer.
I know. I'm watching it right now because I taped it. That Battle Royal, that gimmick Battle Royal. You guys remember that wrestler named Tatanka?
Yes.
I thought he was going to come out. I was so happy. Remember that one black guy who came out? His music sounds similar, and I thought he was going to come out. I was hella mad.
Oh well.
Black guy.
Oh well, they couldn't find him.
They couldn't? They were looking for him, though?
I don't know. I mean, he didn't have the right friends. What can I say?
They could have brought back Andre Johnson. He'd have killed everyone in the ring.
Somebody would have to have their liver removed and stuff by the end, right?
Yeah, but besides...
Remember that guy?
What's going on with Raven's career?
Nothing. He's just there, He's there, and he's not going to complain, because if he did...
He lost to Maine clean on Sunday Night Heat. That should tell you something.
Yeah. I know,
Because I heard he's all sloppy now. Because I was reading about him in WOW magazine, and they said he was all sloppy in ECW, and he's making. He
was out of shape in ECW for sure.
Yeah.
And the minute he
wasn't very good in ECW towards the end, so.
Oh, so didn't he hold the belt, the ECW title, for a year?
I think so. Yeah, I think he did at one point. Yeah.
Yeah, I was mad when he lost the United States belt after one night, because he won it from DDP at Spring Stampede, and then he lost the next night to Goldberg.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how that works out? So.
Actually, in hindsight, how about that?
Yeah, it sounds like, when I hear that story, it sounds like DDP was pretty smart.
Didn't even think about that at the time, actually.
No, but you know what? I remember Raven and Goldberg, that was a phenomenal piece of business. You remember all those run-ins and everything? That was one of the real high points of Goldberg's career, I think, was that match.
Whole flock ran in.
Well,
he just killed everybody.
What match was that?
The Goldberg Raven
the one the
match.
next night that you were talking about.
The whole flock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get running, okay?
Huh?
We're going to get running, okay? Okay, let's go to, is it Tom in Connecticut?
Hey, how you guys doing?
We're doing really good.
I wanted to, talk about how WCW is going to be with WWF now.
Yes.
Okay.
And all the good things they could do with it.
They could do a lot of good things.
Like, I'm thinking really off the bat is Chavo Guerrero and Test. Because
okay. See ya.
How about China and Sean Stasiak?
No, because Chavo, Test and Eddie had the feud, and it was really good, and Chavo's even better than Eddie, I believe.
Yeah, but he's even smaller, too. That's the problem.
Do you know how big a size difference there is with Test and yeah, it's
What about Nash and Rey Mysterio, 99?
Yeah, that was a disaster, too.
I know, I'm just kidding about that one. But no, really, another one is Taz and Reno, both pretty around the same size, if you think size is a factor.
Reno's a pretty decent worker. I hope that Reno gets a shot there. He doesn't seem to have a lot of charisma, but I always thought he was pretty good. And, yeah, Taz and Reno. I think Reno's probably a couple inches bigger than Taz.
What about Tommy Dreamer? Do you think maybe he could be in it? Because I was thinking a good thing for him is if they put like a manager with him like Francine, but instead of Francine, he'd be like Medusa.
Oh, God, I don't think Medusa will ever see television for the... I think Medusa's days are over. I don't think they're looking for 40-year-old women in that company.
She's 40?
Believe her real age is right around 40, yeah. Maybe...
Plus,
maybe
she trashed that title.
And you guys are talking about some of the best entrances, and one that comes to mind for me is definitely Crush. I thought it was a good one because if you look back, if you were watching an old event, his music was very good.
Crush when he was with DOA?
No, Crush when it was with Hawaiian like when
he was feuding with Randy Savage.
Yes. No. Before that, when he was Orange and Blonde.
Yeah. I remember
Crush people's head with his grip.
Yeah, he used to crush people's heads. Yes.
Where he crushed
people's heads? Coconut Crush or something?
Yes, the Cranium Crunch.
Yeah, I remember him.
His music was incredible.
The Kona Crunch, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, what happened to his career?
That music was great. They should give it to someone else these days.
Let's see if they could find... Maybe they'll give it to that rock imitator. Brian, you know about the rock imitator they got?
Booker T?
Oh, yeah. He was...
Is it Booker T, the rock imitator?
Shorter, but... Oh, bodybuilder type?
I saw him on the Ohio Valley like a week or two ago. It is so scary. This guy, he looks more like The Rock than The Rock, if that's possible.
What about Booker T? Doesn't he look like The Rock sometimes?
No, he looks nothing like The Rock. He just copies The Rock shirt and his finisher. That's about it.
Yeah, what I was thinking also is what they could do is do the with Shane Douglas and Bam Bam Bigelow and Chris Candido could be the triad.
I don't think Chris Candido's going to be there. I don't think Shane Douglas is going to be there, and I don't like Bam Bam Bigelow's odds either.
They could feud with DX, the new DX with Albert.
I don't think that one's going to happen.
It'd be good matches for Survivor Series, too.
I don't think so. Anyway, we got to get running, okay?
All right, good night.
Okay.
Those are some great ideas.
Oh, God. On a day like today, I wish that there was still a WCW live show. So anyway... let me get to a couple more emails. When Shawn Michaels was training for the Iron Man match, was Jose Lothario a gimmick, or was he Shawn's real-life mentor?
He was a gimmick.
No, Jose Lothario was Shawn's original trainer.
How can a person be a gimmick?
Ed Leslie. Hulk Hogan. Inoki. Let's see. What are ring rats called in Mexico? I have no idea.
They're called, ratas?
I don't even know. I should ask. Really?
Yeah.
Are you serious? Okay. I don't know. Oh, okay. What was the name of the Mexican wrestler buried wearing his mask? El Santo was buried wearing his mask. I think that's probably who you're thinking. What?
Lots of them. Blue Demon?
Yeah. Since most of today's wrestling audience has only been watching for 3 years, do you think WF could reissue some old gimmicks from the past? I could really dig a new slick managing Paul White as the new Akeem. That's so funny. Just thinking about it, he'd probably be pretty funny at it, too. Because he's got a good sense of humor.
Just the old slick.
And managing the new... by the way, Paul White's going to have an interview on WrestlingObserver.com this coming Wednesday. It's actually, if you read it, it's actually pretty good.
I read most of it, yeah. I was actually scanning for my own name first, but...
And it wasn't there.
I just had to make sure.
Ric Flair has said if he doesn't go to the WF that he and Arn Anderson may open up a regional promotion in Charlotte. If he does, do you think it would succeed? I sure hope so. I just happen to
as a small regional, might do okay. Succeed as far as becoming huge and going up against WWF now.
I think the odds of this happening are very, very slim. What it is if, okay, and this is actually how I was, okay, if Ric Flair doesn't go to WWF, which is most likely going to happen, that he's not going to go, and if he's let out of his contract to work independence by WCW, which is most likely also not going to happen, then he would theoretically go and, but it's not going to happen because if he can work elsewhere, he's going to go to WWF. And if he can't work elsewhere, he's not going to do the independent. And as far as starting the own independent, I know David Crockett, who's been in wrestling his entire life, would love to start an independent promotion. And maybe they may very well do that. They may very well try. But I don't think he'll be able to wrestle because all those guys that are under WCW deals have been told that the minute you wrestle any independent show, we're breaching your contract. And he's got $800 a year for 2 years, and he ain't going to breach that. Yeah. This is from John, who says, some years ago when Ken Patera returned to the WWF, he did an interview with Bobby Heenan in the ring where Heenan's words were bleeped, and there was a trailer across the screen saying something to the effect of they were censoring his vile accusations. Since it had been admitted and publicized that Patera had been in prison, what was the deal? It was just like comedy. That they just thought it would be really funny to say that, like, Bobby Heenan was slandering him. And by editing it out, he could say, you could just use your imagination as opposed to, like, what he actually was saying. Let's see. I already know about... We already looked at the rating of that Raw and Nitro when everyone... Anyway, let's see. WF seems to be getting more and more short-term in its storylines. Yeah, everyone in wrestling is, without building much continuity for later on. For example, have they forgotten about Stephanie's missing night with Kurt Angle from last year? I know.
They sure have.
Yeah, I hate the fact that I've become addicted to a soap opera as well as a wrestling, but it bugs me when I remember the things that are forgotten by the writers. Yeah, they kind of forgot about that whole angle. This is from, what the hell is Russo talking about? We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of fun with Russo as long as he keeps his mouth open. Do you think Ultimate Dragon will ever wrestle again? Most likely no, unless it's like in a 6-man tag where it's like where he's only in for like a minute or so. Yeah. Whatever happened to Lex Luger? Whatever happened to his ability?
Been asking that for years.
Yeah. Let's see. These are the first 3 tentative WCW taping dates. June 13th, Fairfax, Virginia. June 20th, Jacksonville. June 27th, Bethlehem, PA. I'll check on that. I'm sure you're right, though. Because I'd heard Fairfax as well. I didn't hear the other dates. Why? Okay. If I met Hunter backstage, I would call him Terra. Oh, God. In Wrestling with Shadows, you know this one, Bret Hart's wife is yelling at Hunter, calling him Hunter. I thought it was interesting because he was angry at a fictional character.
Everybody calls him Hunter, though.
I know. Question about a pay-per-view on free TV. Do you think a Royal Rumble or WrestleMania or SummerSlam on free TV?
Like, for example, Big Show. I don't think people call him Big.
They call him
Big Show. They probably call him Paul.
Show. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is from someone who goes, does Terry Funk come into the Iron Man League? No, Terry Funk never wrestled consistently for 20 years, 5 nights a week. He had a few runs here and there, but Terry Funk's career as a full-time wrestler, except for, he had that 1989 run in WCW, but for most of the last 20 years, he hasn't been doing, 5-6 night a week wrestling. He would wrestle for like maybe a month, 2 months, maybe 3 months, and then take just do weekends every now and then. I mean, he's never been like full-time for long periods of time, so he wouldn't be even close. Someone's got Ricky Morton. The thing is, Ricky Morton's been working mainly weekends for so many years that I don't think he could come close to like the number of dates as like Satanico, who like really has wrestled full time. Satanico might be the guy, and Peril obviously too. As a person who's never seen mixed martial arts before, wanting to watch a show at my local video store, they have a Pride DVD with Ken Shamrock on the cover. Would you recommend this one? Would you recommend Pride? Pride's a good show. It's got the biggest name fighters. That's what we haven't talked about. You didn't watch the Pride, did you? Or did you?
I'm supposed to have a tape here. In fact, it was actually supposed to be here yesterday, but because it was me, it was not here.
We'll talk about that some other time, I guess. Not really much. Just when you see it, just let me know what you think. I mean, most of the people who I talked to liked the show more than I did. I liked it, but most people really liked it, and I don't know. It's short matches, and I don't like the brutality was a little too much in the Sakuraba Silva fight. I was just sad watching it, even though it was, for 2 minutes, it was a hell of a 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. This is from Jay Thompson, who says, do you think WOW can't succeed because it's women's wrestling or because it's Dave McClain? I think it can't succeed because there's no way to make money. I mean, where does the money come in? It has nothing to do with David McClain. Yeah, but I mean, who's going to spend money on it? Even if you watch it on TV, it's like, where does the money come in? You can't tour with it and make any money because you can't sell tickets to it. And you can't put it on pay-per-view and make any money because they just tried that and did 6,000 buys for the whole country, which is unbelievably horrible. So, there it is. It didn't work. I mean, yeah. And you're not going to build an audience because I heard that, that show was the all-time worst. So, what are these chances of these people getting into WCW? Dawn Marie, I just don't know where their heads are at when it comes to Dawn Marie. I don't know. Francine, I know that Paul will push it, but I don't think. Nova, maybe. Modest, probably not. Daniels, probably not. Lawler, no way. FBI, let's see. Guido may have a shot. Tony Mamaluke, be tough. Prototype, chance. But it's too soon.
Chance in the future or chance right now?
If they do it now, it'd be a huge mistake. In 6 months to 8 months, it might be a pretty darn good idea. Super Crazy, I hope they do. I hope they bring in Super Crazy. He's good. Was it just me or was Lita Spike Dudley real good last night? I don't know. Did you see that?
Actually, it was a lot better than I expected. It was kind of like watching, I don't want to say Ric Flair and Vince Russo or something like that, but you could tell that Spike was just doing his damnedest.
Mm-hmm.
Clean finish, though. That was disturbing.
Let's see. What about airing the first WCW show from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. on a Monday after Raw to get a good lead-in and ensure a good rating for the first show and use it as proof for TNN they deserve a better time slot?
I don't think.
Now, as far as
4 hours of wrestling.
Yeah, but I think that's the best idea to kick it off. I do think that's a good idea for the first week. Not every week, though. No, it's not. And WWE wouldn't want to do it anyway. But as far as just to say, okay, this is the first show and then start it the following Saturday, that's not the worst idea. Let's go to Justin in Pennsylvania. Justin, what's going on?
Hey, Dave. How's it going?
It's going pretty good.
I just have 2 quick questions. About Foley's philosophical differences about the WrestleMania main event last year. Mm-hmm. Do you think he might have been upset about having to play heel for part of the match? Like after Big Show got eliminated and then he gave Rock the mandible claw?
I doubt it.
I think, if anything, I think he was mad that he did it. In hindsight, because he wasn't in shape for it, and, he had mentally retired. I mean, you could tell. I mean, he was called back after he had figured he'd wrestled his last match, and it was, he did it, he got a big payday out of it, so I'm sure he's happy with that, but I think actually doing it, as far as the art part of it, I think that he felt that he shouldn't have been there. And then especially
I think he's going to look back and regret doing it in the first place, and probably the only spot in the entire match he'll ever remember is when he tried to go off the post and came short.
Yeah.
Hit the edge of the table.
All right. Well,
other than that, I don't think he's going to remember anything.
That entire match was kind of a mess when you look back on it. But the other question, is Zach Arnold ever going to be back on the show? And if so, can you get Trevor from Canada to call up again and talk to him?
I don't know. I don't know of any dates that we have booked on him, and I don't know. Trevor from Canada. I don't know.
Yeah, that was one for the books. Okay,
yeah,
thanks a lot, guys.
That was a moment.
Yes, it was. Sean, what's up, Sean?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Not too much.
I was thinking, I can't believe Triple H. Like, he was talking about putting people over and wanting to make money with some of the younger guys, but he put over the Undertaker at WrestleMania, and I'll tell you what, man, give that Undertaker a good gimmick. He's got a bright future. What the fuck is he thinking? And.
He's swerving, just like everybody in wrestling. They say exactly
what he's doing.
They say exactly what you want to hear. I mean, everyone knows, I'll gladly put over anyone and shake their hand, and then you manipulate it, so whenever you put people over, you're getting yourself over.
No, I understand.
Look, you can say right now, you can go, I put over the Undertaker clean in the middle of the ring on the biggest WrestleMania ever.
But it's the fucking Undertaker, It's not like putting over Benoit or Jericho, or even Angle for that matter. Somebody who might need a big win on a big show.
Yeah, well, you saw through it and I saw through it, but he's talking to the people who didn't see through it.
Well, so why doesn't McMahon see through it? Or does he not think, Angle, Benoit, Jericho can pull money working a program with Triple H?
I think
or does he even care?
I mean, I think that it's one of those things. If they went to Triple H and go, this is the match, and you're supposed to put him over, he would do it gladly. I mean, or at least, I won't say gladly, but he would do it, no problem.
He would appear to be doing it gladly.
Yeah, and he would appear to do it gladly. Yeah, but they don't ask because they have their. I think the whole thing was like, okay, we're going to set Undertaker up for Austin, so he saw that. That's just kind of like the storyline. They haven't really asked him to put over Benoit clean yet, and so it takes someone to like force the hand.
Actually, they have. Remember that tag match where he fell off
the
ropes?
Okay. Yeah, in the tag match where they did that fluke finish.
Right, but if they want to do something with even just say like Benoit or Jericho, they need to do it. I can see them putting it off like till maybe like June or July, sometime like deep into the summer, where Triple H jobs during a Raw, where everybody's watching. But they shouldn't put it off to a SmackDown where he did a job, but it's not a high visibility job. Like he needs to do it clean in the middle of the ring where either like one of the young guys needs to do it, but it's not going to happen.
No, it will sooner or later. It has to. I just don't know when.
Well, I don't know. 10 years.
And it might not
now.
be for those guys. It might be for like the Big Show or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's done wonders for Raven and Kane. So, all right, guys, that's about it. Thanks a lot.
Okay, is Alan next?
Hello.
Alan.
Yeah, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. What's going on?
I had a quick question. I didn't want to, I don't know if I should ask on the radio or whatever, but a question. I was wondering, like, everybody like Goldberg and Raven, guys like that, Malenko, and I happen to be Jewish. They're Jewish, right?
Goldberg, Raven, and Malenko are all Jewish, yes.
Yeah, I was curious. Are there any other wrestlers in the business? Out of curiosity, that are Jewish?
There's probably tons of others. I just don't, I don't know. Barry Horowitz comes to mind. That's the only one that comes to mind, but I'm sure there's many others.
Because I heard I read somewhere, I happened to go on Missy Hyatt's website once, and she had, like you remember that Adam Sandler Hanukkah song?
Oh, yeah.
And she had, some people listed on there. I don't know if she wrote it, and some of the names I didn't even know she had on there, like Molly, Holly, and Kane, and Albert, and I was like wondering if it was true.
It might be.
I think all those names are accurate.
I think yeah, Matt Moon, yeah,
he is. Ask Dave.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I didn't know Molly Holly though. But then again, the name's it is a Jewish name. What, Nora Greenwald,
Holly.
right?
Oh.
Yeah, Holly.
Well, that's not right. It was funny. I was listening to Bite This once. I don't know if you ever listened to that before.
No, because I think we're on the air around the same time they are.
Oh, I see. I was listening to it once with Paul Heyman. He was like funny, about this.
He's Jewish too.
Yeah, some kid called up and he called him a dumb, a Jewish kid. He asked him if he was Jewish and he called him a dumb Jew or something. I don't know. Paul Heyman is just a funny character.
Yeah, he is. He's very entertaining.
Yeah.
Very quick-witted. Yeah.
But I didn't know if I should ask that on radio. I was just, a curious question. It wasn't,
Yeah. Missy Hyatt's Jewish too.
Yeah, she is.
Well, I don't know if she is this week. She married into the Jewish religion, but I don't know where it stands today. It's been like a year or two.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. When she's on I know she'll be on the show again because she's got a book coming up, and when she is, we can ask her what her religion is.
She's a character.
She's a character, yeah. Most people in wrestling are. Anyway, we are totally out of time right now. I want to thank everyone for joining in, and we'll be on here tomorrow. We'll be talking about Raw, and we probably don't have Ken Shamrock on, but we may, and we'll let you know tomorrow on the website if we know any more. And anyway, I want to say goodbye, and we'll see everybody tomorrow at 5.